So TSLY, especially early this year, was supposed to be the newest and best monthly dividend income ETF that would replace your 9 to 5 when you invest just a few $1,000s into it. It was paying out massive dividends for multiple months straight, and the NAV was shooting up as well, giving it at one point a total return of 99% within just a few months. Tesla's stock had a huge rally during the first 2 quarters of the year, allowing TSLY to distribute insanely high dividends. But recently we were reminded that whenever there's an ETF or a stock that has a dividend yield that seems way too good to be true, more often than not, the results end up proving that to be the case. As of right now, its 3-month return is a negative 33%, and just this last week it dropped 15% in a matter of a couple days. With Tesla stock's disappointing performance recently, TSLY was kind of forced to cut its dividend all the way from about 85 cents per share on average down to around 57 cents or 58 cents per share, which was the amount for this month and last month's payout. And this whole situation kind of reminds me of Zim stock, if any of you remember. It's a shipping company based out of Israel that at one point had a dividend yield as high as 150%. And as you could expect, everyone on Reddit and Twitter were so excited about a triple-digit dividend yield and making plans to retire by only holding shares of Zim. But then things started to fall apart for Zim, shipping rates started dropping back down to rational levels, revenues fell, and sure enough, the dividend was suspended and its share price dropped over 60% as well. So I'm not saying that this is exactly what's going to happen to TSLY. All I'm really saying is that funds like it carry a lot of risk, so a situation like this is something to be expected. And with that being said, let's now take a look at how my own position in TSLY is doing with all this volatility. So I recently made a video about how I bought over $1,000 worth of TSLY, which was about 6 weeks ago from today. And since then, I'm down over 20% with a current unrealized loss of about $250. So now, unfortunately, the market value for this position has dropped to under $1,000. But I did receive a $45 dividend payment in the month of September, and just a few days ago, I received a $47 dividend for the month of October. So the monthly dividends are definitely still really high compared to other funds, but with the NAV dropping as much as it has recently, those dividends aren't necessarily pulling their weight. Even including dividends, its total 3-month return is a negative 24%. And as you can see with Tesla's earnings report this last week, it took a major nosedive. If you haven't noticed by now, this ETF's performance is almost directly associated with the performance of Tesla stock. So going forward, what happens with TSLY really depends on what Tesla stock does for the next few months or years. If Tesla stock rebounds and ends the year in the green, then TSLY will pay out higher dividends and its NAV will recover as well. But if Tesla stock continues to fall lower, then TSLY will do the same and pay lower dividends, leaving people like myself holding the bag and caught in the dividend trap. And that might not be a huge deal to some people if the NAV keeps dropping lower either, because I know a lot of people are just using the dividends to fund other stocks and ETFs in their portfolio, which I don't think is a bad idea either. So when it comes to adding more shares of TSLY, it's kind of up to you to decide how you expect Tesla's stock price to perform going forward. And some people might make the argument as well that it's better to just hold shares of Tesla or even to trade options on Tesla instead of investing into TSLY, especially since TSLY doesn't actually hold real shares of Tesla. They trade options using synthetic shares, which I know can get kind of confusing. And I personally don't trade options or really have the desire to. And I also don't really have much desire to hold shares of Tesla because of the volatility that comes with it. But I really like dividends, which is why I plan on holding TSLY for a while and using those dividends to help grow my other more long-term positions. I know TSLY right now is kind of a controversial ETF, especially since it's technically a dividend ETF, and those are typically more safe and stable. And from what I've seen, it's been kind of the opposite of that. So let me know what your thoughts are on TSLY and if you're buying more shares after this big drop, or if you're completely dumping it and never looking back, because I've seen both sides to it. And if you guys enjoy content like this, then feel free to check out my other videos on the channel, and I'll see you next time.